Hey, this is CANDIA Raquel, and you are at the Sensual Sessions Podcast, the place to explore sensing pleasure through your senses and moving in a way that is free from inhibition and full of self-expression. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast to get these episodes delivered on your inbox weekly. Go to my website, which is my name, candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel.com. And today we have a very special guest right from Amsterdam. She's Lise Brenner, choreographer, meditation teacher, emotion code practitioner, and writing coach. Thank you for coming, Lise.
Well, thank you for having me again. This is so nice.
Again, we had a fantastic first episode conversation right at the Vondelpark in Amsterdam.
Yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
we talk about corsets and really being in the body wearing what you are wearing, a corset or nothing at all, or what you're wearing now. So how are you managing to stay in that embodied state of hotness when the world is on fire and not in a sexy way?
Ah, well, I have to say that what's really been going on for me is last year I had in 2024, I had two hip replacements. And, this was after years of being in what I look back on and I'm like, wow, the ability to deny reality is amazing. But and I was misdiagnosed like
Oh
four and a
no.
half years ago. So I had like an official diagnosis that there was nothing wrong, but I was in a lot of pain and I couldn't move. I mean, literally, like I was so stuck. So I had the second hip done in November, and by now, like there's really nothing I can't do. And I mean, it's so much fun. So being back in the studio a little bit, just walking with no pain
Yes,
is an incredible experience.
yes.
Yeah, and I was in Portugal a couple of weeks ago and it was raining all the time. And there you are, or there I was in Lisbon and Porto and these different places and slippery, very steep streets. And I realized that, this fear of falling that had been growing in me for about 10 years was gone.
Wow.
So it's not just the pain, it's like all the nervous system responses, to being in pain as well. And that you're just not stable, because your bone is literally like eroding away, or mine was. So obviously my pelvis felt really, really, really unsafe. Even if I didn't know it was feeling that way, I'm now understanding that it was just like, this is not good. So
In
yeah,
retrospective,
yeah,
yeah, interesting that sometimes we have like reality happening for real, meaning that it's not just that we want to sugarcoat everything, but that pain is happening and it's disabling
yeah,
the situation. So it's not pain per se. Well, pain is disabling in itself, but the situation that is causing the pain like keeps you from doing stuff. And we get stuck in trying to manifest our way into health, which I believe it's crucial. Like miracles happen out of just sheer faith. I am a witness. But those are often accompanied by high specialty surgery and stuff. So it's not just the sugar coating that will take you out. And when it comes to the body, sometimes I feel we can become so emotionally fragile. Like we become
Yes.
little kids,
Yeah.
and that fear like keeps us from taking the adult stand and being our own savior. So can you recall the moment when you had the shift to say like, okay, this is real, like there's something going on and that diagnosis is inaccurate?
Yeah. It's very specific. So it was just about a year ago. I had I had I had gone to Thailand. So I
With the bad
advanced
hips
with the bad hips, yeah.
and the
So
pain to Thailand.
and the pain. Yeah, I went to Thailand because we had in like I think it's the rain here started. We had rain like you wouldn't believe in 2023, 2024. So like I think it was starting end September. It I might be exaggerating, but my feeling was, and most of us felt this way, that it rained every day for like 80 days. We were just like, I mean, it was awful. And you've lived here, so you know how the light goes away and it's raining and it was
And
just like, I mean, it was awful. And of course, my hips were hurting. Well, it wasn't just my hips, my whole body was in so much pain because yeah, I mean, it just, your pelvis is like this, so everything else is also like that, right? And, all this stuff. So anyway, I was very uncomfortable. And all I kept thinking was, maybe if I go, I just wanted to be in a warm sea. Like that was all I wanted, you know. And so, I mean, and you've lived here, and I don't know if you ever swam in swimming pools here, but even the swimming pools here are
I'm
kind of
cold.
cold. Everything's cold, they're just
Everything's
like,
cold.
yeah, it's just like cold. So, so,
And
so
rain.
I found a ticket for, I think it was like 650 euros round trip on Emirates. And I mean, a good airline, right? And to Bangkok. And I've never been, I'd never been to Thailand. I had no idea what it was going to be like. But I was like, I'm buying this ticket, and I am going. So and I went to Thailand, and it was a very improvisational trip. And I ended up spending the first like 2.5 weeks sort of in Chiang Mai and north of Chiang Mai, because it turned out I knew someone from high school who'd lived there a long time, and she had an apartment she could give me, and I stayed with her a few, all these things. And Chiang Mai has the most important training center in Thailand for traditional Thai massage.
Wow.
So yeah. So, this is, and they take Thai massage very seriously in Thailand. I mean, there's a lot of tourist things, but still, basically, like, it's a real thing that people really train, and they really know. So, and it costs about 12 euros a massage if you go to the hospital there. So, the
Wow.
traditional hospital.
Like you can have two massage a day for all your stay.
They're too busy for that, but I basically had like 3 or 4 a week for a couple of
Nice.
weeks in Chiang Mai,
Nice.
and I was feeling better. I mean, you're going to feel better, right? So then I decided to keep going. I was like, this isn't the beach. I still want the beach. So, I decided I would go via Laos. So I took a beautiful boat ride down the Mekong to Luang Prabang. And again, it was so good for the nervous system, right? I was just like, I was so happy to be in this beautiful climate. So I spent a few days in Laos, and then I'm like, this is crazy. I'm hurting. I want to be in the water. It's time to get myself down. So I flew down and stayed a couple weeks on two different islands. Again, had wonderful Thai massage. Also met the second island was a tiny, not very populated, very traditional. And I met a traditional healer there who buried me in sand every morning for 4 mornings,
Oh,
which was also amazing. She's like, this has healing properties. And I'm like, yeah. So it's me and, and another German tourist. a lot of people from the village, and we're all like buried up to here in sand for 45 minutes.
Like, yeah.
I mean, and also what you need, I know this is a very long story, but because I didn't think that I had anything really wrong with me, and because I've spent most of my life as a dancer, over the last 4 or 5 years, since I basically woke up one morning and couldn't walk to the toilet, have been doing everything I could think of to try and fix myself. Right? So, I mean, I went back to Feldenkrais. I tried, one-on-one Pilates for like old people for a while. I mean, not it's just like I was a dancer all my life, and then all of a sudden I can't do anything anymore. And I'm like, what is this? So I can't work with the people I used to work with because they're used to working with dancers. I have to find someone who can deal with me where I am now. And where I am now was someone who specializes in geriatric rehab. And she was fantastic. But I was like, what, who am I suddenly? You know? And I learned about techniques like journaling for pain relief, because that works.
It works.
Others, there are
Wow.
so many ways people are exploring to deal with chronic pain because Western medicine is crap at dealing with chronic
Pain.
pain. And also, if you don't have a clear diagnosis, they don't know what to do with you. And there are so many people who have these issues. So a lot of psychology and psychology adjacent, and a lot of like, I also did a lot of Reiki. I mean, I was doing
Everything.
everything, everything I could think of, including, you're going to love this one. The one of so Phillips is in Eindhoven, so it's about,
Yes.
yeah, an hour and a
Yeah, around
half
the
on the
block.
train. And there were two guys who basically figured out the MRI for Phillips in the 1970s. And I think it was the 70s, maybe it was the 60s. Anyway, so one of them set up, he left Phillips and continued to really investigate the power of electromagnetics, not just as diagnostic tools, but as healing tools. And I can't say one thing or another about, the actual efficacy of this. It's a basically a business now in a village outside of Eindhoven, and it's this, there are these saunas basically with all kinds of special electromagnetic stuff happening and magnesium showers, and I mean, there's like it's
Oh,
uh, on one level, I'm like, where am I? This is some kind of like homemade like contraption thing. On another level, it again, it does a lot for, I think, for the immune system. They use it with cancer patients. And it does a lot for just relieving overall stress and making you feel better. So anyway, I think I ended up doing 2 series of 10. So I would go on a Tuesday morning, have my session, go to the local market that happened on Tuesdays in this village. And then I stayed at a B&B that was a dairy farm and near this
with
nature
cows
preserve,
and everything.
cows and everything, and trees. It was lovely. So I had like a year of being in Eindhoven once a month, overnight doing this stuff. Anyway, so I tried everything, right? So there I am in Thailand finally. This is like after 4+ years.
Buried in the beach.
Yeah, I'm on the beach. It's stunningly beautiful. This is a beach where there are resorts, but they're all owned by the local fishing people. At night, it's just stars and then some green lights from the squid boats, the squid fishermen. But it's, I mean, amazing, right? And I'd been there like 3 days, and I suddenly thought to myself, it hurts so much to walk up and down the stairs from my little concrete bungalow. It was like 20 stairs. And I was sitting there, and it was like 6 o'clock or something, so time to think about dinner. And I was just like, I don't want to walk up those stairs. And it was that moment where I was like, I have even come to Thailand. It's
Yeah,
like
like no one can say you didn't try it all.
exactly. Exactly.
I,
So that was the moment.
yeah, I can feel that moment. Like I don't want to walk those stairs.
Yeah.
I don't like. Bam! What a
Yeah.
realization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
how did that felt?
actually, it felt like a huge relief because,
Okay,
you know, it takes so much energy to
receive.
preach. Yeah, you know? And I mean, back to your original question about like dealing with the current times, I think that's, I mean, I'm really trying to be present with the current times because they're horrible for me, in my opinion. But I know it's not going to help me if I do this. I've gone through too much of um, sort of waking up to my own reality to be comfortable with pretending things aren't happening. But then there's also the other thing, which I did learn from dealing with the chronic pain, which is that's all
The
still
pain,
only part of life. Chronic pain, it's always there and it's going to affect you, but it's not you.
it's
You
not
know,
you.
you
It's
know
not
what I mean?
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bam! I am getting the goosebumps. Yeah. Chronic pain is not you, and the world on fire is not the world, and it's not us. It's a circumstance, an unfortunate circumstance. And it's
Yeah.
important to be deliberate on the way one is gonna deal with it. And I haven't fully decided yet, but I've made an effort to be aware that there has been days that I have been stuck to the news 10
Mm.
hours a day, or even
Yeah.
more, especially back in August 2024, that the coup to Mexican democracy began by the attempt to demolish the judiciary. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening. No, 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 I can't believe like this is it's not a nightmare. It's really
Mm.
happening. What can I do? Oh no, I am so hand-tied. And this, and I did in my ant microscopic insect scale, whatever I could. That was just to spread the voice because
Mm.
like I am dealing with my life. And now I see my friends in the US going crazy like I was back then because they are like in the shock with reality.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I was very close to a nervous breakdown.
Mm.
I think that happens in when you are in any kind of extreme situation, can be a health situation or like in a pol- physically I am good, luckily.
Mm.
But I think it's key to to notice what's going on, then to get perspective and choose what to do about. And it's I like a lot that you really extinguished all possibilities prior
Yes.
to going for surgery of double hip replacement. And
Yep.
I mean, that's marvelous. And because it says a lot of an inner construction that it's like, I am a dancer, I know my body, I know I am strong, and there's a lot in the world developed to deal with this situation, and everything helped, but not enough. Like they everything helped to maybe diminished the symptoms, but not went as deep as to solve the root cause of
Yep.
it.
Yep.
which at the same time was like very practical. Like you are super happy jumping and walking next to the beautiful Amsterdam canal. I don't know if you're jumping, but I just saw your canal and I see you glowing and very happy and like super relieved and yay, life is wonderful. So fast after like November, like it's not
I
even
know.
it's not even half a year and time.
No, it's incredible. And it was super interesting to me because so when I came back, I knew I knew I had to get diagnosed. I had to start the process with a proper diagnosis. But I really did not want to go back to the hospital that I'd gone to before. And I really don't, we call them house arts, my GP here. Basically I mean, there's a reason for this, it's a quite a comprehensive medical system here. And the role of the GP is mainly to like keep you out of the system. They're not like, oh, let's give you tests. They're more like, no, no, we're not giving you any tests. Um, so, and I also, this is something else this was kind of like the next part of my process, which was I realized how deeply I distrust the medical system. And I mean, I have reasons for this. I've had orthopedic issues since I was about 13, and quite frankly, orthopedists and dancers generally don't get along because, they like to say to you, well, you should just stop dancing. And dancers are like, yeah, yeah, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
So, that's been my experience for a long time. So I I decided I was going to be in Germany for a meditation retreat, and I taught a little bit at the Folkwang, and I have friends who have been around, the whole kind of Essen, Pina sort of thing. And so I asked if anybody could recommend a good orthopedist there, and of course they have really good orthopedists because the Folkwang and Pina and so on have been there a long time, and so. I got diagnosed in Germany and felt like, okay, so I took care of myself.
Okay, let's get serious.
Let's get serious. Let's go to
I
Germany.
have just come from Bangkok, didn't work. I'm done with all the woo-woo stuff and energy and somatic and every whatever. No, no. Now I'm gonna get diagnosed to Germany. Yeah,
It totally makes sense, right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
And of
very
course,
practical, very practical. Like, okay,
yeah,
I am
no
trying
emotion.
all the options. I've gone through everything. Okay, relief, decision made. Now let's see
Yeah, let's
what the
move
German
forward.
doctor says.
Yeah. So I really thought I would have the operation done in Germany. Also because so the other thing I was really, really afraid of and was not being taken care of. And, you know, I had a terrible experience in New York in 2018, the year before I moved here, with a, a minor knee operation that turned into nearly like a 9-month odyssey of just anyway, a lot of PTSD from that. And so I was really concerned about, and this is also childhood. I mean, it was so interesting. When I started to really take apart what was making me not take action. It was distrust of the systems. Which I also think, I mean, going back to our original topic, there were so many echoes. Like yeah, I mean, I'm not somebody who is so necessarily distrustful of what could work in
Yeah,
the
you're
US.
not paranoid. You're a
I'm not at all
practical,
paranoid.
doable
No,
person.
no. But I have to say, given what's going on now, and given that we have sort of known that Trump would do everything he's doing for a long time, I am really distrustful of the current structures because they didn't stop him. So if the Democratic Party truly believes in democracy, what the hell were they doing all those years when Biden was, I mean, you can tell I mean, but I'm like, it would seem to me that you need to focus on the real problem, which is we've got a fascist coming into power. He's got a lot of support. You know exactly what he's planning to do, and you're not doing anything to stop it. So what's wrong over there? So anyway,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
causes, the causes,
yeah,
because it's systemic, and at the same time, we're trying this, we're trying that, we're trying this, and it's not working. We have to go
exactly.
for a proper diagnose.
Exactly, exactly. So anyway, what happened over time was I have friends who've had hip replacements. I had a very good friend who was having one here the same time as me. And we have a mutual friend who has had two and, it was very reassuring. So anyway, I had a lot of support for me to process my fear by being, I don't know. And things just kind of magical things just kept happening. Like I randomly met a woman at a dinner party who had had two hips done, a Dutch woman, very upper class, very wealthy, the kind of person who in New York you would, would be one of those Park Avenue people who would know only the best doctors, that kind of thing. So yeah. So she recommended somebody who it turned out had done the hips for my friend. He didn't remember the guy's name. So anyway, I ended up with this surgeon who is probably the best in the Netherlands for hips,
The top,
the top.
VIP
And
recommended.
yeah, and at a great clinic, and my insurance covered everything.
No, wow. You know, there's something to pleasure that is easy.
Mm,
And it's very interesting the effort of sustaining the unsustainable, like
yes.
trying to fix and trying to make better, and just the mere effort of trying to fix in a non-conducive way becomes draining. So that's where I feel it's so important for everyone to go take the trip to your own Bangkok, your own, to the place that you know you need to go. It can be your favorite coffee, or
Mm,
or sit in a bench park, or go to a library, or go spend some money shopping, or whatever that
mm,
gives you a stance to get perspective, that you get
yes.
far away enough from your situation. I mean, it could be just blocking 1 hour just for yourself, and like getting away from your efforts, and
Mm,
really feel the situation, and have enough space to be able to take in what you already know that is the solution. So
yeah.
it's very important to have that space to get perspective and find solace, so relief can happen, and realization, and the clarity for effective action, that it's normally streamlined. In another cases, I have been through situations also with chronic pain, injuries, whatever. My decision to not go through surgery after uh, partial psoas muscle detachment, and
Mm,
and other things, but yes to, I don't know, therapy, and yes to other treatments that are not my style. And there's something beautiful, that is that no effort is totally in vain, because
mm.
I see you on the other side now. You really broke on through to the other side, like the song said. And it's somehow as if all that Feldenkrais and geriatric Pilates and Reiki and traveling to Eindhoven and everything this
In Bangkok.
and Bangkok, yeah, was like a glow up. So imagine if you didn't have any kind of pain, no problem, and you just invested all of that amount of somatic self care. Well, this is the outcome.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, so one of the great things that happened to me during all of this is, but I have to say, I've always somehow had this talent of connecting with the right teachers and the right practitioners. And, I've always sort of
Like
managed
a
to do that.
sensor.
Yeah,
The real deal. This is the real deal. This is a charlatan buy. This is the real deal.
exactly.
Bangkok.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I have an amazing osteopath here. I mean, her name's Gabi, and she is like a magical little tiny person, who just understands so much. And she like literally sings to your bones and I mean, amazing. So I've got her, a fantastic, fantastic shiatsu practitioner, the most sort of like holistic Feldenkrais person, Kitty Onk here, who's just like amazing. And then another dancer, Kitty was a ballet dancer who like changed her whole life through Feldenkrais. And then Lily Chiara, who is a phenomenal improviser and also a musician and a cranial sacral practitioner. So, Lily and Kitty and Anna, all three of them, the shiatsu person, all three of them came and made house visits in the 2 weeks after my surgery when I was staying at a friend's house because I have a lot of stairs, so I had to stay somewhere. And they came there and, did what my body could do. And I just feel like that made such a difference with the healing, you know? Um, of course, there's the normal physio and all these things, but people who truly are looking at the entire self from all of these different perspectives too, you know, it made my healing go so much more quickly.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful. And you know, sometimes people feel that they are suffering for a reason.
I
In
think I felt that for a long time. Yeah.
really why?
I mean,
I also don't know.
again, no, if you go back into all of these sort of
Western upbringing.
yeah, and and the things about uh, you know, not being good enough, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Also, we've talked about food issues and weight things, that I mean, I realized one of the other things I started doing in the course of all this was, I think I told you about this, that I'm an emotion code practitioner because about 2 years ago now, I guess, I started doing this amazing class with about it, she calls it love your body, love your life. And the sort of kernel is your relationship to food, but you know, it just opens everything. And she uses EFT tapping and emotion code in a group like Zoom setting to help you identify stuck beliefs, things that are really holding you in place. And again, it's like, what am I really thinking? Like, not in my conscious mind, but like, the part of me that, yeah, what's the part of me that won't let me, I don't know what, but it's like this self-dislike is literally cellular,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like the embodied unconscious false beliefs, limiting beliefs.
Yeah, and like saying affirmations is not going to change it. You really have to deal with like you have to get into the body, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and like track down the sensation. And
mhm,
this question popped up because it's strange that sometimes I find myself trying to get out of suffering by
mm.
suffering more. Like, oh no, I am exhausted. Let's accept two more projects.
Right.
And it's like, it's crazy, but it feels the right thing to do, though it's totally wrong. And I feel there is an ingrained disdain for basic goodness and the gifts of life and healing and well-being, and most importantly, pleasure. It's like,
Mm,
okay, the Democrats just like lay on their laurels. They just like got comfortable and did nothing. Like, and what's happening also with all of us, like as a society, I think there's yeah, there's an ingrained self-punishing mechanism
mm,
that I only get to get a hold of it and put it in its right place when I catch I am really having a bad a bad time. And
mm,
I I think it's important to practice well-being, like
mm,
to become good at feeling good. Like
mm. Yeah.
almost as, for example, what is happening in politics and what happened before that enabled, that was in a way a certain um, taking for granted, taking it as a given that democracy and equality and diversity, okay, we arrived here, now let's get comfortable and do nothing, instead of, okay, I am in this state, let's really identify with this state of basic social equality, and
Mm,
let's strengthen this and let's nurture this and let's actively protect this in the same way as on an individual level. I feel it's important to acknowledge all the bunch of things that are not a problem in our lives and acknowledge, oh, okay, this feels good. I'm gonna master my ability to enjoy, to feel pleasure. And I
mm.
love that, though you have also that modus operandi somehow because you are a Westerner, you did everything that you could from from a loving place towards yourself. Like, okay,
Mm.
let's go hard and let's even go to Bangkok. And then when Bangkok was not the answer, you went like, okay, let's go to Germany. And here you are. And I believe that's a huge lesson. Like, you're setting a great example and you're a role model of Virgo qualities, of putting your feet on the ground and looking things for what they are, straight in the eye, and taking practical action. Like, okay, I have you did have a diagnose, so it wasn't from the roof of your head that you said like, okay, let's try Feldenkrais and this and that.
Mm. No.
And I would say that, yeah, like, how do you think that aspect in you developed? Like, okay, yeah,
Mm.
how Give us a tip on how one can improve their own self-care capacity.
That's interesting. Well, just something very simple. Um, I mean, I'm okay, so I have done a lot of Buddhist meditation in my life, and uh, I did a very intensive 3-year thing about 10 or 12 years ago, and then I did a year-long thing to become a kind of basic level. We call it presenter, not teacher, because it's not about being a teacher, it's about presenting certain practices. So I have a relationship to self-inquiry, right? In this, it's not any different than being a ballet dancer. It's the same thing. You have a ritual. You're supposed to show up every day and do this thing for an hour and a half or whatever. And so I, as a good perfectionist, had that kind of like, well, if you're not going to sit for at least half an hour, then like, why bother? Well, one of the things that I've in the last year or so that I've been, or the last 2 years, is I've been trying to really loosen that up and to just be like, well, how different is my day if I say to myself, I'm just going to sit down for a minute, 2 minutes, and just check in. What if I just do that? You know? And it's really interesting because it's like I feel like I connect to myself. It doesn't mean it'll stay all day, but it means that I have a better chance of knowing what I really want to do than I would if I just stayed with what's going on in my head.
Yeah,
So,
I love
yeah.
that because it's almost as being respectful to the body, understood as the body as the unconscious in the self. Like, okay, I am relating to myself as the body, but it's a different like cognitive system. So if I say I gotta sit half an hour to meditate, or otherwise, why bother? Yeah, like it makes sense. There's a necessary discipline on any formative process.
Hmm.
But like you're not in the first year of ballet technique. You are already a master. So I like a lot what I think it was Pina Bausch who said that the goal of technique is to acquire so you can get rid of it, in a way
Yeah,
of you need to acquire the technique just to not get in the way of yourself. So technique
exactly.
is a tool to serve you, not is for you to act as technique. So it's a very elegant and benevolent reframe of saying, no, like, what if I sit 1 or 2 minutes for what truly sitting and meditating is meant for, which is opening the space for this unconscious wisdom to emerge forth brilliantly as understanding and okay, this is what I need to do. And even if it fades away further on the day, you can sit again or check in on the next day. But then it's like a respectful
Hmm.
self-regulation. It's not like I'm gonna impose myself this framework that at the end is external.
Yeah,
And rather like, no, it's like I am I am tending to myself. Really, really, really love this. And I think we could record 4 more episodes on just this, the inner connection. Ah, thank you so much, Liz.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Um,
This was great.
yeah, it's been great. Tell us, how can we know more about what you're doing as an emotion code practitioner? How
And
can
a
we
writing
learn
coach,
more
all these
about
things.
meditation or getting a hand on writing, which is a very practical, creative process?
Yeah, very practical and very mysterious too.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
see your
am
dances,
sorry.
and see your dances too.
Yes, yes. Well, so a lot is happening. I have just updated my website, lisebrenner.com, um, with two new programs. One is very much a beta program, and it's called Truly Madly Deeply, and it is a 6-week group program. We're going to use somatics, the motion code, writing. It'll be on Zoom, obviously, given, all this. And it's based off of this inquiry that I've done. And I'm experimenting with ways to kind of, yeah, teach people some of these approaches. Um, yeah, and so that one is on my website. Just go to the services page and go down. And then the other one is a writing program for women. It's called Boobs and Ballet, which is the
It,
same title as my Substack, which has been a little dormant, but it will be coming back. So if anybody's interested in that. Um, and that comes out of some work I did with professional dancers, past and present, here in the Netherlands during COVID. And it was just, it was some meditation and some writing and some discussion and basically about our bodies, but using breaths as a way in, since that's such a contested thing, not just for dancers, but I feel like, at least for Western women, and maybe I can only speak for white women, but that the two things, breasts and ballerinas, have a kind of huge archetypal impact on how we are taught to look at our own bodies and how we're taught to be in our bodies. So whether you're a dancer or not, it feels like an applicable title to me for any woman who's interested in, exploring some of how she relates to her own body, using meditation and writing in a group setting. So those are two programs. And then I
fantastic.
work one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And Instagram also, right? Lise Brenner.
I'm on Instagram. I have to say these days it's pretty much all politics.
Yeah, but you're the best source of curated political content. Like, yeah, I recommend to essentialists here to go right away and follow Lise Brenner with double N on Instagram. So you know about her meditation work, and also like really curated political news on her stories. Really, like you are my no news source, because a lot of what we see out there is fake news or biased stuff. So I really appreciate that too. And yeah, thank you for being here, Liz.
Thank you.
Happy for this revisiting.
Me too.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
yeah. And thank you, Sensualist. Go to lisebrenner.com and check on Truly Madly Deeply and Boobs and Ballet. Those programs are super juicy. Also, if you haven't already, go grab the free guide to Awaken Sensuality on my website, which is my name, candiaraquel.com, www.candiaraquel.com. Until next time, remember to take the time to sense your fire so you can share your flame.